say your name and rank for the record?
Bob Kenley. My rank was corporal.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good. Coming out just fine. Okay, Bob. Like I said, I'm JC.
Right.
Were you drafted or did you enlist?
It's kind of hard to come up with. The unit was going, I was with the unit there in town, and I wanted to go with it, or with them, but I was too young, and they made a special deal, and I got to go. I think I was 17, something like that, and I went to Camp Cook, where we went from here, and did the basic training, and then from Camp Cook we went to we went and got on a boat. And for about 12 of the most miserable days I ever had. In fact, I got sick going underneath the Golden Gate Bridge, and I think I stayed that way almost all the way. But then I finally recovered after I got there. We stopped off in Japan, issued some equipment, got a rifle, zeroed it in, and went on to Korea.
So you served in the Korean War?
Yeah.
Did you serve in any other wars?
No.
What branch of the service were you in?
Army.
Army? And what was your rank again?
Corporal.
Corporal? What did you do? Like, what were your jobs as a corporal?
Well, I had various jobs. Whatever somebody wanted me to do, I'd go and do it. I didn't have any special talent. So,
well, what were a few examples of like something that you may end up having to do, or just a few things you might have to do on a regular day?
well, let's see. It's been a long time. I would, when I was in Korea, or
Either or.
anyone, I'd kind of like hang around in the States. And when I went overseas, when I was on KP and straightening up the area and cleaning up things. Then I got to, what did I do? It's been so long. I know I had something I did. Oh yeah, I had taken a school earlier in my military career, and it kind of went by the wayside. It was, well, they call it wire school, but it was string and wire and for communication. And we'd hook it up to telephones and things. And of course I wasn't in the headquarters company, so they needed a lot of phones. So everybody wanted one, and you just go around and string wires to each one. And then at night in Korea, where they would blow up our lines, and then in the morning you go out and hunt them down and put them back together again. So that was pretty much my job.
Why did you pick the branch of service that you joined? Why did you pick the Army?
I guess it was the adventure. You know, you see all of these wild things in the movies and all that, and you want to go and be part of it. If I would have had my druthers, I'd have probably stayed home. But I wound up in the Army.
Where were you living at the time when before you went into the Army?
I was living with my grandparents. I lived with them all through school, through high school, and everything.
Do you recall your first days in the service?
Not really, because most of that part of going into the service was already over with. And when you go into the guards, you do the same thing. Get your rations, clothes, and have classes on things. But going to Camp Cook, California, that was a great adventure. And living in a barracks with a large number of guys. I'd never done that before. It's kind of noisy.
I can imagine.
So,
do you remember anything about your first boot camp experience?
it was kind of, I don't know, I didn't really have a boot camp. We had sit-down classes. We didn't really have to do anything. And I thought boot camp was kind of easy, you know. But we had to go out and do our calisthenics every morning and everything. But we learned all the different things about what to do and what not to do, but you don't go out in the dark grass, and that was mostly in Korea. You don't wander off into the grass and things. You get blown up that way, because they were very good with booby traps and little bitty mines, and they would blow your foot off. So when I was in Korea, I think I was scared most of the time. So, but anyway, they taught me what to do and what not to do, and I tried to follow it. So.
Do you remember any of your instructors?
No.
So where exactly did you go after your training was complete? I've heard that they sent you in many different to many different places.
I went to Camp Roberts up the coast in California to do wire school, and they taught me how to climb a telephone pole, which wasn't too thrilling, but that is really scary. You're hanging onto this thing and you got two little cleats sticking into the side of it, and you're hoping everything holds together till you get back on the ground. But we had classes, and then other times we kind of had to learn by doing. So, like with the climbing of the poles, that one guy would go up and down and say, "That's how you do it. Now you try it." So, and what else did I went to another school. Oh, I learned how to be a switchboard operator. So, we didn't have any women for switchboard operators, so we took charge of it. You know how to plug them all in, and of course I installed it. I had to learn how to put it together and wire it all up. But I learned a lot of useful things.
Did you go any other places?
Went to yeah, but I can't think of what the name of it was. I went to the wire school in the telephone operator type school. That's all I can think of. I used to get all these little rinky-dink things they'd send you off for a day here, and I can't remember what they were for.
It's no big deal. If you think of anything and want to, if you remember anything that you want to talk about, just feel free to interject at any time. Now I heard that they had a lot of different patches on you that you couldn't even keep track. Explain that.
Patches. You mean like the one?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I only had one patch. I started off in the Guards with the 44th Division, and then I was at the 45th Division with just the Tropic Lightning after I got overseas. But I wasn't the one that collected patches and things. Some of the guys did, but I didn't. I think one patch, try to get it sewed on was enough.
Did you see any combat?
You know, they like to throw artillery shells at me all the time. I didn't really like that at all.
I imagine not.
You can hear them when they come. They got a certain sound, and I could be sound asleep at night, and I'd hear that thing and get up and jump in the hole, and it scared me to death. But I don't know if I can still remember it or not, but I used to remember every time they shot one. And then the mortars, the little bitty things they put on their knee, and try to drop one in your back pocket. That had an altogether different sound to it. But I was never in a firefight where I was using my rifle for anything. I don't think I ever fired it, but at target practice. But I sure could get going when an artillery shell might come over.
Were there many casualties in your unit?
Not really. I think one guy fell out of a truck on the ground and it ran over him, killed him. He was a company truck driver, and I think he had too many of them, I think. But anyway, he fell, and I guess it fell underneath because the front wheels run right over it. And it's kind of squishy. That was about the only real casualty. I don't even remember anybody getting hurt or killed with an artillery shell, which is, thank goodness. But I didn't, have a rifle and go charging up a hill shooting and all this and that and the other. I was just in danger all the time. One day we were picking up wire. A lot of times it was, I'd pick up the old wire, roll it all up, and save it, and use it over again. And there's this area that I'd run up and down all over the place, picking up wire. And that evening, company, I guess, went into that area, and a guy got blown up because there was a mine. And they found out there was mines all over there. I was just lucky that I stepped in the right place. So,
now, you described mines and having to be careful about stepping in different kinds of grass. What was that like, constantly having to be alert on where you walk or where you drive?
Just, you just always had to be on alert for everything. They had it was kind of comical at the time. There was they made the toilets a little square box, goes with a hole in it and everything, and they plopped this thing down, and they did it right on the top of a hill, and they just finished it. So I was going to use it, and I was sitting there, and it just sounded like bees going by. And it dawned on me what it was, and I got off of there real quick. Somebody was shooting it.
Were you awarded any medals or citations?
No, I didn't. I wasn't in any combat, so. Oh, I got the Korean medal for being there. Good conduct medal for not stirring up anything.
When you were overseas, how did you stay in touch with your family?
Letters mostly.
Was that hard to be away from them?
I didn't have a girlfriend or anything to get too excited about, so I had just my family and my grandmother and grandfather is who raised me, so.
When you were in Korea, what was the food like?
Excuse me? The who?
When you were in Korea, what was the food like?
It was typical military food. About like the chow hall here. Simple and good.
Did you have plenty of supplies?
Yeah. Yep, had everything they need.
Did you feel any kind of pressure or stress when you were overseas?
You know, like when they're trying to kill you?
That would be an example.
You get a little stressed. Yeah. Not anymore than you would if you was in that position. I mean, you get used to it as much as you can. If I was in foxholes and they were shooting at me and all this, that, and the other, I would have a lot of stress. But in the wire section, I didn't have much problem.
Was there anything special that you or your troop did for good luck?
No. No, not really.
While you were stationed in Korea, how did people entertain themselves?
They wouldn't listen to the radio. Once in a while, we'd have a USO troop go through. We had a couple of them. Get a movie once in a while. That's about it.
What did you do when you were on leave?
I didn't really have leave. I kept going until it was over with and I could come back home. I did, well, no, I take that back. I did go to Japan for a little R&R. And that was kind of nice. Just see the pretty little girls, have a drink or two. I forgot about that. And after the war, I got to go back to Korea. I was working for a communication company, and they were redoing the Korean communication system, and I got to go back to practically where I was. A couple places I could remember. And some of them still had the do not walk on this area or you'll get blown up type stuff. But that was a treat to go back, not to stay, but to go back and see where you were.
And it was a little bit on your own terms?
Oh yeah, I mean I was getting paid, and I didn't have to live in a foxhole or nothing. So, yeah.
Do you recall any particularly humorous or unusual events while you were in Korea?
It must have been, but I can't recall it right now.
Do you have any photographs from your time in service?
I had a lot of photographs, but the work I do, travel and everything, and my grandparents passed away, and I don't even know where half of my stuff is anymore. So, no, I don't have any pictures.
What did you think of your fellow soldiers?
I got along with them fine. We all got along pretty good. I didn't find any one of them any different from the other ones.
What did you think about some of your commanding officers?
Well, once in a while you was wondering whether this guy knew what he was doing, but he always got his back. So I guess that's all right. But I can't name any names. I can't even remember their names. I had a stroke before I come to this part, and my memory is just weird. Some things I can remember, some things I can't.
How long did you stay in the Army?
Just as long as it took to get me out of there. I had what was it, General Clark? I think it was. I was out on the road guarding the motor pool, and this Jeep come running up there, and I was going to go out there and jump along with the driver until I saw all them stars on, on this guy's shoulder, so I didn't. Well, I just behaved myself. Yes, sir. Whatever you say, sir. Let him go.
Do you recall the day your service ended?
I can't think right now. I think it was in October. I think it was in '53. I'd have to hunt up my papers and see.
What did you do in the days or weeks after you got out?
Well, let's see. I slept in the morning. This mess, wandering around, going to movies and things that I hadn't been able to do. See some friends. So I got another job that sent me somewhere else. I've been traveling for most of my life. And if I don't do it, I get restless. So I guess in some ways I'm happy.
Now you mentioned that you traveled a lot after your service. What career did you go into?
Well, I was working for this company, like, it was sort of like all communication and everything. They're installing this and they're installing that, and mostly it's overseas. We put a whole new telephone system in someplace in Nicaragua, I think it was. Things like that. I don't know how I got a hold of these things, but they'd call me up and say, "We got this to do. Are you interested?" So I said, "Yeah." With that. So anyway.
Did you make any close friendships while you were in the service?
Not really. I didn't really want to. Because if you got killed, why, that would be devastating.
Did you join any kind of veterans organizations after you got out?
American Legion is about the only thing I ever belonged to.
What kind of activities does your poster association have?
I never have went to any meetings. I'm always busy doing something else.
Have you ever attended any reunions?
Nope. Not even my own.
Did your military experience influence your thinking about war or the military in general?
Well, it told me not to. War is not a lot of fun. And if you can avoid it, more power to you.
How did the service and your experiences overseas affect your life?
Made me a traveler again. I get on them planes and land in weird places, work a while, and I was down in Cuba. When Castro was dropping, what was he dropping? Some kind of explosives on people.
What was that like?
It's hot, sticky. Now, I was trying to find a place where it would be ideal to work. I figured maybe that down in that part of the country it would be good. It wasn't. It was sticky. I don't know. This is probably the best climate. In fact, this is and Korea are almost identical in climate. They have cold winters, they got warm summers. The only thing is you don't have to sleep in a tent. So I think I'll just stay here from now on.
Where were you originally from again?
Here.
Here? Right in Quincy or a surrounding town?
I was born in Blessing Hospital.
Was there anything you would like to add that we haven't covered? Maybe a funny story that you might have remembered, or really anything?
Yeah, I can't remember anything. Yeah, that's about it.
All right. Well, that's all we have for you. Thank you very much for taking time to do the interview and serving our country.
Bob, you did really well. Why don't you turn this off?
And this will be on the internet. They'll put this in the Library of Congress. So